Welcome to Under the Palm Tree, cool reflections on God and His kingdom. Today we will discuss the world before history. We live in a world that is chaotic. We have wars and rumors of wars. We have fires that have destroyed forests and cities. There seems to be crime and destruction everywhere you go. How can we live in peace in a world of chaos? There was a world, an ancient world, before recorded history. And this world was full of wickedness and rebellion. This was a chaotic world, just like the one we have today. We can read about this world from 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. 10 names associated with the beginning of mankind. 10 names that covered the first 2,000 years of man's existence. 10 names that defined the world before the flood. Each name represented a story of a life from birth to death, except for Adam. Each name represented the head of the family before the flood. We find more details of these 10 names in Genesis chapter 5. The genealogy in this chapter of the Bible gives us more insight on our world in the beginning of mankind. The first name we see is Adam. Adam means man or earth, from the Hebrew word Adamah, meaning ground or soil. Man was taken from the ground, for the Lord said to Adam, "By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and dust you will return." Genesis chapter 5 begins like this. This is the written account of Adam's line. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female, and blessed them. And when they were created, he called them man. Adam represented mankind and failed, bringing sin into the world. Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all men, because all have sinned. The Apostle Paul also wrote, "For as in Adam all died, so in Christ all will be made alive. So it is written, the first man Adam became a living being, the last Adam a life-giving spirit." Adam brought death into the world, in contrast to Christ, who brings life. We learn that Adam was 130 years old when he had Seth. For simplicity's sake, we will say that Seth was born in year 130. Adam was created in year 1 and died in year 930. Adam was the first man, the one who represented mankind and brought sin into the world. The second name on the list is Seth. Born in the year 130, his name means appointed or chosen one. Seth was born in year 130 and died year 1042. Seth was the one appointed to carry on the family line. There was 130 years of civilization before Seth was born. We don't know how long Adam and Eve stayed in the Garden of Eden before they were kicked out. Most likely Seth was born because Seth was the appointed one. I used to think that God made Adam and Eve, and the first thing they did after a few days was to sin against God. But now that I rethink about it, Adam and Eve could have existed with God in harmony for over 100 years. It was also some time before Seth's birth that Cain killed Abel. In Genesis chapter 4 we read about Cain, whose name means gotten or acquire in Hebrew. Implies that things are important to him. Abel, whose name in Hebrew means breath or vapor. His life was certainly brief when he got killed. And life is brief. James wrote, "Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." Seth was chosen because Cain killed Abel. One question I have is that Adam and Eve also had other sons and daughters. Was Seth the third born, or was he chosen among many offspring? I can't imagine Adam and Eve not being fruitful and multiplying in the years leading up to Seth's birth. The appointment of Seth gives us some insight on the world before Adam fell. The next name on the list is Enosh. Enosh was born in year 235 and died in year 1140. Enosh means mortal or human in Hebrew. Some of you may wonder, how could people live so long before the flood? When I was younger, there was a popular theory that the earth was covered up by a canopy of water. They would show from Genesis 1, and God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. God called the expanse sky, and there was evening and there was morning, the second day. The theory would argue that this layer of water above the sky blocked the radiation of the sun, and therefore men lived much longer back then. This is a possible explanation why men lived longer before the flood, and it's only a theory that has much been debated. The most likely explanation is that God originally created man to live much longer, but because men were so wicked, he shortened their lives. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with man forever, for he is mortal. His days will be 120 years. Not much is known about Enosh, except that he was mortal and human. The next name on the list is Canaan. Canaan was born in year 325 and died in year 1245. Canaan means possession or acquisition. Some would interpret Canaan as sorrow, because the word for sorrow in Hebrew is Cana, which sounds very close to Canaan. His name implies that he was a collector of things, and things are never enough and can cause much sorrow. The next name on the list is Mahalalel. Mahalalel was born in year 395 and died year 1290. Mahalalel means praise of God or God's glory. I once had a roommate in college who often says, "Bless God, bless God." I can imagine that Mahalalel was such a person who often blesses God. The next name on the list is Jared. Jared was born in year 460 and died in year 1422. His name means descent, or he shall come down. I get the impression from the meaning of Jared that he was a very humble man. The next name on the list is Enoch. Enoch was born in year 622 and was missing in year 987. Enoch means dedicated or initiated. Enoch was one who initiates others. One who initiates others teaches others. Aside from having other sons and daughters, like all the others in the genealogy, this was written about Enoch. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away. Enoch was one of two men in the Bible who walked with God. This was a sweet, regular, intimate fellowship he had with God. Enoch believed God. Many people believe in God, but Enoch believed God. The Bible says, "For before he," talking about Enoch, "was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Enoch not only believed in God, he earnestly sought after God. Enoch did not see death. In Genesis, it said, he was no more because God took him away. The writer of Hebrews said, by faith Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. Enoch did not experience death because of his relationship with God. Enoch could not be found. That means that they were looking for him. They missed him. They missed his preaching and his teaching. Enoch was a preacher and a teacher. But what did he preach? Most likely in his walks with God, God revealed to him about the coming judgment and the wickedness of the world. Jude wrote, Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about these men. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to judge everyone and to convict all the ungodly of all ungodly acts they have done in the ungodly way, and of all harsh words ungodly sinners have spoken against him. It is interesting that Enoch named his son Methuselah. Enoch, in his walks with God, learned of the coming judgment, and so he names his son Methuselah, which means his death shall bring. The question is, what will Methuselah's death bring? The next name, obviously, is Methuselah. Methuselah was born year 687 and died year 1656. Methuselah lived the longest of any man recorded, 969 years. Methuselah's name means his death shall bring. His father Enoch was told by God of the coming judgment. Methuselah's death shall bring judgment. He died in year 1656. That's the year of the flood. Now, he could have died in the flood, but very unlikely. This fits the scenario that when Methuselah dies, judgment comes. It is interesting that there's an ancient Jewish text called the Jubilees that gives details on Methuselah's death 7 days before the flood. Methuselah, being the man who lived the longest, reveals God's patience with mankind. The next name on the list is Lamech. Lamech was born 874 and died year 1651, 5 years before the flood. Lamech means strong man or powerful and can be interpreted as despairing or overwhelmed. It might be interesting to note that Adam was still alive when Lamech was born. Can you imagine the family portrait? Lamech was a man overwhelmed and often in despair. He named one of his sons Noah and said, "He will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." The 10th name on this list is Noah. Noah was born in year 1056 and died year 2006. Noah means rest or comfort. Rest in the Bible is a picture of salvation. God was to destroy the world, and Noah was the salvation of mankind. The psalmist wrote, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart as you did at Meribah, as you did that day at Massah in the desert, where your fathers tested and tried me, though they had seen what I did. For 40 years I was angry with that generation. I said, they are a people whose hearts go astray, and they have not known my ways. So I declare on oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest." The writer of Hebrews wrote, "And to whom did God swear that they would never enter his rest, if not to those who disobeyed?" So we see that they were not able to enter because of their unbelief. Therefore, Since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it. For we also have had the gospel preached to us, just as they did. But the message they heard was of no value to them, because those who heard did not combine it with faith. Didn't Jesus say, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest"? Noah was 500 years old when God told him to build the ark. Noah was the other person in the Bible who walked with God. It took him 100 years to build the ark, and the flood came in the year 1656. It's interesting, in the midst of judgment, there is the hope of salvation. So if I read the first 3 verses of 1 Chronicles again, would you have a better understanding of the first 2,000 years of civilization than you did before? Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. Do you see the hope of the gospel in a world of chaos? Perhaps it could be read this way: man appointed mortal possession, but the blessed God coming down, teaching that his death shall bring to the despairing rest. Our world may be in a mess, but God is in control. There is the hope of salvation. You just have to see it. May God bless you in your spiritual journey.